Hey heroes, Cap here, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about the new gear perks that have been added into Marvel's Avengers with the patch that happened last Tuesday. Now, I've had some time to test these, play with them, and figure them out, but they come from the gear that you get from beating the raid and beating the OLT. They're brand new, they've got more status on them, and they've actually got some more like team-oriented effects on them. So without further ado, let's jump in and check out these new gear perks, and let's see just how good they are. So for this, we're going to be using Black Widow as the example, as she's the one that I've taken through the raid and gotten the gear and have all the perks associated with all of her gear. So without further ado, let's jump in and take a look at first her heroic piece of gear. So when looking at this heroic piece of gear, the first thing you'll notice is the first gear perk that we are going to be talking about is the shock status leak. Now, overall, it's just the status leak that we're looking at. This one specifically is the shock status leak. So the status leak is pretty cool in the sense that when you're attacking an enemy that's affected with, in this case, sonic status effect, if I use vibranium, they all of a sudden spread shock to nearby enemies, causing even more status effect and more damage dealt to them. Overall, all the perks that they've added to the game, this is probably my favorite. It's definitely one of those that's kind of makes you think about not only your build, but what build your teammates are going to be running. So, for example, my Widow, it's kind of hard for me to stack Sonic and then stack Vibranium because I usually end up just knocking them out by that point. So the shock isn't really there. However, if I have my teammates putting down shock damage, I'll jump in with my melee, do some Vibranium damage, and spread that shock to nearby enemies. This is super helpful. It makes more status and more damage to everyone nearby, and overall allows you to work as a team and take the enemies down for yourself. Now the next perk that we'll be talking about is also found in the heroic gear is the Sonic Conduit. Now, I did think that this was only found on the heroic in the slot 3. However, it turns out it's not. And I will show you in just a minute what I mean. But let's talk about the Sonic Conduit before. So what's nice about this is as I'm dealing my Sonic damage as Black Widow, if I am acquiring that Sonic damage, I all of a sudden become a Sonic Conduit Sender. As a Sender, I send the Sonic effect to the nearby allies. This is a timed effect, not just an overall like boost or anything. It's about 11 seconds from what I've seen and tested, and they get a receiver Sonic Conduit buff added to them, which means their heroic and their intrinsic both charge up, able to help them get to overcharge or get their heroics that little boost to get them that next attack ready to go. So definitely a perk that was added to the raid and OLT that's super helpful and allows you to be more of a support character for your team. Like I said, a lot of these perks are associated with being able to be more of a team player and encouraging you to play with more people. Which, speaking of playing with more people, if you're looking for to play with, be sure to come on over to Twitch where I stream live and I play this game a whole bunch. I have the PC version as well as the Xbox version. So come in, join, let's do some raids, some loyalties, and let's get this gear firsthand. But let's stay on topic and get back to the perks. Now, the next perk we talk about, well, actually, back up. Before we talk about that, let's talk more about this Sonic Conduit. Now, it was addressed that it was only going to be on the heroic third perk. However, I found a loophole. If you check out this melee piece that I found, it's called Lethal Conduit. Now, it's not Sonic Conduit, but it gives you the same effect as defeat an enemy with the Vibranium status effect sends the Sonic Conduit buff to all heroes. All heroes are considered Sonic Conduit receivers. So I have two pieces of gear on my Widow that allow her to send out the Sonic Conduit buff to all of my heroes and allies around me, which is super helpful to give them that little boost and give them the feel that they have Sonic damage near them and applied to them, so that way they get their heroic and intrinsics charged, as that's where a lot of our attacks come from. I found this out, it's super helpful, and it's been kind of a nice little loophole to the Sonic Conduit that we thought was only on the heroic gear slot 3. The next one that we talk about is going to be the efficient status perk. Now this means that if you look at final reverberation here in perk slot number 2, my light combo finishers and heavy combo finishers are both dealing vibranium damage. Now it used to be that it would take up 2 slots in order to do that. For example, as you see right here with this piece of gear. Light combo finishers are inflicting particle damage and heavy combo. However, it took up 2 slots, therefore taking up some of the ability for me to have more perks added onto my build. With this new status efficiency, they're now combined where my light combo and heavy combo are both dealing vibranium damage. Now if you take a look at my range piece as well, you will see it over here where pistol shot and high caliber shot are dealing sonic damage, whereas before, for example on this one, the full auto and the high caliber both deal cryo, but it takes up 2 slots. This way with the efficiency, it saves me a slot to use and put something else in that I get from the raid and from the OLT. This one I really like, I enjoy, especially with the fact that, like for example, this one has pistol and high caliber shots. Both pretty much strong uses in the Black Widow range. Of course, if you're using the full auto, you're really going for that stun damage. So this is super helpful when trying to make my Widow more of a tanky build and knock out enemies a little bit faster. Now, one perk I won't be able to show on here because I haven't gotten it just yet is the hero specific perks. Now, these are perks that are added into the hero, for example, like Captain America, where he gets extra buffs that he can utilize based on certain actions that he does, for example, Commander's Call. There are now perks that allow you to activate the Commander's Call, or specific perks that go with the hero in other ways, that way to kind of widen your range of attack and what you can use to get the most damage put down on your enemies. Now, the last perk to take a look at that was added to Marvel's Avengers is going to actually be found on the minor artifact, not on any of the gear slots that we have. So let's take a look at it right here, and it is in perk slot number 1, the perk Breaker. Now, this increases damage from gear perks by 200%. Now, to make sure that you guys understand, this is built for like payloads, for example, when you are shooting off a rocket to deal damage, not when your hero specifically dealing damage. Like I showed you, my Widow deals sonic damage on her pistol and high caliber shots. This will not increase the damage by 200% on that sonic. Even though a perk is affected by it, it's not the perk dealing the damage, it's the hero. So for this, it has to be associated with payloads such as the vibranium payload, the shield payload, the stun, or the explosion that happens when you're beating them and hitting their critical points. So be sure to take notice of that the gear perk damage is for the gear perk itself, not for the hero. That way, when you're dealing that payload, it's doing 200% more damage, and you can really take it to those enemies that are dealing the damage back at you. So there we have 5 new perks that have been added to Marvel's Avengers. Like I said, the status leak is probably my favorite one. Now be sure to check me out over on Twitch where I stream live, jump in the games, let's play. Let's get some of these perks, let's get some raid runs down, some OLT runs, and see what kind of crazy builds we can come up with. And if you enjoyed the video today, be sure to like, hit that subscribe for more content, and let me know in the comments below what has been your favorite new perk they added to the game. As always, heroes, stay amazing, and until the next video, bye bye.